Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Collecting Issues, where this month we'll be taking a look at Friday, book 1, 2 and 3, collecting issues 1 to 9 of the 2020 Image Comics series by Ed Brubaker, Marcos Martín and Munza Vicente.
So the comic book education continues?
We're talking inappropriate comic books.
You're into comic books, aren't you?
That's comic book shit.
Like in the comic books.
Very good, Benjamin. Collecting Issues, the monthly comic book club. I tell you what, though, you've said 2020 there, the year of our Lord 2020, but they made a meal out of this, didn't they? They made a meal out of this. Oh, let's be honest, Ben. They made a meal out of this.
Stretched it.
Go on, tell us why.
They stretched it.
Go on.
No, initially, Michael, this was pitched as a 2020 series, and the kind of the birthplace of this, Michael, was apparently Marcos Martín reached out to young Edward Brubaker and said, "Here, come here. Do you have anything that you'd like to work on together?" And young Ed Brubaker went, "Actually, I might have just the fucking thing." And he went and he kind of cobbled together this pitch for Friday.
Bloody Friday.
And they went, "Oh, this is great, cool. We'll knock this out in 3 issues, 4 issues, maybe 6 issues, and call it a day." And then, unfortunately, a couple of different things happened, Michael.
Go on.
Number one of which was the Global Panini.
Oh, the Global Panini, when they released that sticker album of different coronaviruses that you could get.
Yeah, and people just took a lot of time off to go have a look at that, if you remember. No one was reading comics at the time.
No, everyone
we
was
were all
just
mad
collecting
for
the
sticker
stickers.
collecting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yes.
they got back on track, so they took their little break for that.
Yeah.
Then they got back on track, and then there was a big old writer's strike, and Ed Brubaker was kind of somewhat implicated in that.
Oh, really? Is Ed Brubaker involved in television and
Yeah.
movies?
He is. He is on
I
occasion.
See. So he was down tools, was he?
He downed the tools, because do you know what he isn't, Michael?
A scab.
A scab, Michael. Ed Brubaker, not a scab.
No, as far as we know.
Good lad, Ed.
As far as we know.
Well,
like,
as far as we know.
let's just say
As far as we
allegedly, even for positive things. But Ben, also, the other thing about this is bloody no care or consideration for people with autism. Because people with autism like their comic books to come out every month and be 22 pages.
Yeah, I would prefer, Michael, if I started a series in 2020 that it finished at latest
2020.
early 2022.
Yeah. Exactly 9
Probably.
issues over exactly 9 months, and each one exactly 22 pages. But by God, that's not what you're getting here.
But that's what I want, Michael. That's what I want.
Yeah, but you're not getting it. Because in this, they just went, we're going
No,
to
it's
tell
not
this
what I'm
story at our own pace and at our own leisure, and you better suck it up.
And Michael, they sure did.
They sure did. When
They
did the
sure
last
did.
one come out? Yesterday? Last week?
2024, August 2024,
It's
Michael.
only a
I
few
think.
days
I
ago.
believe was when the final collected issues came together. The final trade paperback, I believe.
Unusual size and format
That's
for
madness.
the TPBs, Ben.
Quite small, Michael.
Quite small. Very small to read.
Yeah, small, svelte. You know, very, very enjoyable. These are interesting, Michael, aren't they? As a concept, because as 3 volumes, book 1, book 2, and book 3, each one consisting of, as you've already pointed out, 3 issues.
3 issues of a random length.
3 issues of a random length with utterly varying tonal and aesthetic.
Insane.
Each one.
Insane. Look, Ben,
It's insane.
we have to point out that there's going to be spoilers here because this is a monthly comic book club, so this assumes that you've read it, or at least in the progress of reading it.
Yeah.
So big spoilers ahead. So don't listen to the rest of this if you're going to read it. But if you have read it, stick around and give us your opinions. But yes, 3
But
volumes.
you know what you could do?
Go on.
Michael, just before you carry
Go
on
on,
there.
go on.
If you haven't read it yet, or you're going to start reading it,
Yes.
do me a favour.
Go on.
Go join the Discord down below and share your thoughts with the other people in the online community we are building for comic book readers and collectors about the place. You can do loads of different stuff in our Collecting Issues Discord, Michael. Do you want to know what we can do?
I'd love to hear just, let's say, 3 of the things that I could do.
Well, first of all, you can keep up to date on what the book of the month is, read along and share it with fellow comic fanatics. Or
Yeah. Second thing.
you can go up on the weekly pull thread and give us what you're reading. Give us a mini review of what you're reading at the minute. What's tickling your pickle? What's piquing your interest?
Oh, I'm glad you said interest. Go on 3.
Yes, and then finally, you could talk about comic book art, Michael. You can jump up on our panel discussions where we talk about some of the best damn panels in the biz.
How exciting. Everyone should do that then. Get on it.
And
Yes?
you can chat with some really sound people who like comic books. They're a good bunch of lads
Grand
and lasses.
bunch of lads and laddets. Benjamin. So
Yeah.
look, we'll get to the wildly varying tonal shifts of the 3 books in a few minutes. But
Yeah, we will.
here, look, Ben, imagine I'm a cocaine-addled 1990s Hollywood executive. Give me your elevator pitch for this. Because like many things, it could be argued that this feels a little bit like a pitch for a limited edition television series.
Yeah, okay. So, okay.
Oh, you're going to do a voice.
What would you like your name to be of your coke adult exec?
Chad Cocainington.
Okay, well, I'm just going to go with Chad.
All right.
Chad.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Chad, listen to me. I've got a money idea. Pure money.
Are you Ed Brubaker in this scenario, Ben?
Yes.
Okay, and that's an accurate Ed Brubaker impersonation, I'm led to believe?
Not even a little
Oh,
bit.
fabulous. All right, but carry on then.
With apologies to any friends, family, or Ed Brubaker if you listen.
I think
to
Ed
this, 'cause I
Brubaker
think
might listen to
sometimes
this, Ben. I
people-
think you might be in trouble.
I think sometimes people do. Ed, I'm really, really sorry.
All right, go on.
What I want is something from my childhood.
Oh, yeah, go on.
But then I wanted to have really deep adult themes.
Oh, yeah, like Loss.
Yeah, loss and unrequited love and not being in the same place where you are with your best friend when you're kids and then suddenly you grow apart but you don't understand why.
Ben! I'm going to cut across you there because I'm going to pretend you're Ben again. I don't know if they are very adult themes. They're not adult themes. They're YA themes.
How dare you?
Well,
How
look,
dare you accurately portray what I discussed?
look. Well, I dare. I dare.
Right. Well, look.
Go on.
Let's dispense with my frankly spot on Ed Brubaker impression.
I actually
if you are
thought
listening
that-
to this Ed Brubaker, I'm very sorry.
I thought that was Ed Brubaker. Did we not get him in? I thought we had him in there for a second.
We did. No, we didn't get him in.
Oh.
Ed, if you would like to be on this podcast, do let us
Yeah,
know.
do.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah, hop up on the Discord.
You're more than welcome. What it was actually pitched as by young Edward Brubaker was, what if Edward Gorey met H.P. Lovecraft and they wrote a bit of YA together?
Who's Edward Gorey?
This is an interesting one, Michael. Initially, I thought Edward Gorey was some kind of Victorian fairy tale writer. That's what I thought originally, Michael. But, Michael,
What?
I was wrong.
Oh no, not for the
It's not what he...
not for the
that's-
first time.
Edward Gorey is...
Yeah, go on.
What? What
I
did
like that
do?
you ignored me saying
What?
that and just carried on. Great stuff. Fabulous.
What did you say?
Doesn't matter.
Shit.
Doesn't matter. Keep going. Edward
Oh,
Gorey is.
listeners do. Edward Gorey is, I suppose, the source of inspiration for young Tim Burton. Michael, Edward Gorey wrote kind of strange gothic Victorian children's books, but he did it in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. He was born in 1925 and he died in the year 2000, Michael. He was a writer and an illustrator, and he was pretty renowned for this kind of macabre, whimsical style that he put together. He famously wrote something called the I'm going to get this wrong now, the Gashly Crumb Tinies.
Oh, yeah.
In 1963.
Go on.
And you will have seen this, Michael. It's the bizarre little sketch illustration of a bunch of children and kind of an almost an Undertaker-like figure holding an umbrella over them. And it was an alphabet book, and it details the whimsical deaths of 26 different children, Michael.
Probably shouldn't have laughed that
Yeah.
much.
But you did.
I did, though.
And
Too
then
late
in
to take that back.
1957, he also created kind of a dark gothic fairy tale called The Doubtful Guest. And that's about a mysterious creature invading a family's home
a
and how they
leopard.
deal with it. And the parents are full of civility and they keep saying, no, it's fine, he's our guest. And the children are like, he's murdering us. What's wrong with you?
He's a big murderer. man.
He's a big murdering man. But he had a lot of these. And his art style, Michael, and perhaps what will ring a bell for you when you read this is his art style was very linear based and cross-hatching based, and he was very good at stark black and white contrasts and Victorian-inspired settings.
So, Ben, I read an interview with Ed Brubaker himself, and he said he described this as post-YA. So he kind of he saw this as like what happens when the YA people grow up. But I think he himself, even in conversation with readers, had kind of misunderstood what he knew YA to be. Because his examples of young adult books had been more kind of what Americans would call middle school books. The likes of...
Children's books, Michael.
Older children. 12, 13-year-old children. The likes of Encyclopedia Brown. The likes of...
Yes.
Probably a good example of a modern one, which wasn't in Ed Brubaker's list of inspirations. But the likes of... What was that Irish one, Ben? That was a rubbish movie.
Artemis Fowl.
Artemis Fowl. That's not YA. That's kind of middle school adventure books. And I think Ed Brubaker thought he was inventing a new genre with this, but this is YA. Because this is about young adults dealing with relationships and the fear of going off to college. And isn't that young adult? I thought that's the literal definition of young adult.
Yeah, no, I think either Americans and ourselves have very different definitions for those genres, but I would tend to agree with you. This is young adult fiction. This is the teenage stuff. This is, there's actually something scary in the woods that wasn't there when I was a child, but is there now. Ooh.
But also, is it as scary as giving someone a kiss if they don't like you that much?
No, probably not, Michael. Terrifying stuff. Terrifying stuff. The stuff of nightmares.
The stuff of absolute
stuff
nightmares.
of nightmares.
So, Benjamin, the main characters in this, right?
Yes.
Really, there's two. Let's be honest.
There's only two.
There's only two,
There's only two, Michael.
And they're a classic young, not YA, they're a classic kids' book protagonist. The smartest boy in the world, Amadeus Cho.
Yes.
Oh, no, sorry, I've gotten his name wrong.
But by a... yes. A rose by any other name, Michael, would smell as intelligent. Yes, his name is Lancelot Jones, Michael.
Great name.
In this. Great name. Like, in fairness to Ed Brubaker, chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss.
Very good, young, childhood detective name. Good work from you, Mr. Brubaker.
Yeah, he's very much in the vein of what Disney turned Artemis Fowl into when they didn't like the idea of him being a baddie. Yeah.
The one thing I will always forgive Disney for, Michael, is that the fact that they cannot give any teeth to their character. No. He's a good un, really.
Yeah, he's misunderstood.
Don't be silly.
Like Loki.
Don't be silly. He's misunderstood. That's all it is.
And then,
that's all it is. But
yes, go on.
Go on.
No, you go on. I was going to.
No, you go on.
I was going to say then the main.
You're
main
more
character,
intelligent.
The main character.
Yes.
Continues the trend of naming the main protagonist of your young adult murder mystery after a day of the week. It's not Wednesday this time, Benjamin. It's Friday.
It's Friday Fitzhugh. It's a play on, Michael, His Gal Friday.
Yes, I know.
Because Friday is literally...
I know.
It's for the listeners.
The
it's
listeners.
Not for you.
Sorry, I forgot about the listeners again.
It's for the listeners. It's a small insight that might help people understand the naming convention if they're not familiar with that kind of thing.
Love it.
Sorry, listeners. Sorry you had to hear that.
Yeah,
Normally we take that off air. Sorry.
It's a bit of a tiff.
A bit of a tiff there. But yeah, it's a play on His Gal Friday. So Friday Fitzhugh is literally the Gal Friday. And of course, Michael, the whole point of this is that Friday was never a sidekick, but perhaps the most important character all along.
Because she was doing high kicks and stuff.
And hockey puck
swishing hockey pucks at people. Bit of a classic inversion of a trope. It's the boy who's the little weird, weak dweeb, and it's the girl who beats people up and protects him. Oh no, sorry, no, we've been inverting that trope for the last 20 years. I tell a lie.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was about to be like, I don't know about that, Michael.
She's
you got me with a classic ruse.
She's very much. Fuck, I forget the character's name. The girl character, the red-haired girl character from It.
I can't remember that character's name either, but yes, it's the spunky red-headed girl. That's That's what it is. It's a classic Kingian trope. It's a Kingian trope. It's an American trope. It's just a good old-fashioned American fiction
Good old-fashioned
trope.
Max in...
How do you know?
In, what's it called? Stranger Things.
Yeah, exactly. How do you know she's a tomboy? We gave her red hair. Don't have to worry about that. You know exactly who she is now from this point
Yeah,
onwards.
she's going to be ass-kicking because she has red hair and smokes a cigarette.
Oh, look at her. She doesn't even regret smoking that cigarette.
No,
Brazen.
Benjamin,
Brazen.
this is set in the 90s, I think.
No, it's not.
It is.
Is it?
Yes. It took me
It's
a good...
not.
It definitely is. No one has mobile phones.
Yeah, no, I know that.
No one has mobile phones. I think everyone's into the Backstreet Boys. This might even be set in the 80s. I don't think it ever comes out and flat out says it. Is it?
I thought it was the 70s.
Is it the 70s? It could be the 70s. Yeah, it could be.
I thought it was just a good old-fashioned chronal displacement of around the 70s.
Okay, the cars look kind of 80s.
Do they? Like, she drives around in a little bug, a little Volkswagen Bug a lot of the time.
Well, we call that
Like,
a
that's very
we call that a
70s car
Volkswagen
there,
Beetle,
Michael, isn't
Benjamin.
it? That's a very 70s
No, that's an
car,
80s car.
Is it?
I don't know, Benjamin. I don't know enough about American fictional cars, but anyway, yeah, it's set in the past. I was a few issues in before I realized this wasn't set now.
Oh no, I knew it wasn't set now quite a bit, Michael. I was relatively aware of that because they do quite a bit of effort into making it a little bit old-timey, Michael.
In what
I'm
sense?
going to say the 70s, Michael. I'm sorry.
It could be
I'm
the
going
70s.
to say the 70s. The aesthetic, Michael, the dress sense, the fashion of the characters. Michael, it drips the 80s. For Christ's sake, Friday Fitzhugh spends most of her time in bell bottoms.
Belled bottoms. That could be the 90s then, because bell bottoms were back in the 90s.
Yeah, they were back in the 90s. That's true.
I don't know.
I think, though...
ask the listeners, Ben.
think,
The
though-
listeners might know.
Yeah, listeners, you can leave us a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, or you can leave us a comment if you're listening on Spotify, or you can just leave us a comment on any one of the socials that are linked below in the description there. But take a look at it. I think, now I'm going to give you my pitch for this, Michael.
Go on.
I think, given the wave of popularity of what Ed Brubaker considers to be YA,
Yes.
the likes of the Egypt Game, the House with the Clock in the Walls, the Snark Out Boys, Harriet the Spy, all that jazz.
Yeah, go on.
Right. That was at its peak, Michael, in the late 60s, mid 70s, late 70s. So I think literally that Friday and Lancelot have found their fame in this small town during that period, and this is the end of that. So I'm going to say it's the late 70s.
All right, so that's the way of saying the
in
80s.
this town.
All right. Well, I tell you what.
Fuck you.
Fuck you anyway. Benjamin,
Talk about the Snark Out Boys. Jesus.
let's
That's
talk about
fucking
the
Nick
volumes.
Leonard.
Let's talk about the volumes, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the volumes of it.
Yeah.
Volume 1. Let's talk about volume 1.
Very grounded.
Very
grounded. Very normal.
Normal stuff mostly. Now, volume 1 opens...
For the most part.
For the most part. Volume 1 opens with Friday arriving back in town after what we're kind of presented is a long time off at college. I thought she had finished college, to be honest.
No.
And was going... She's only been gone for one academic year. That's 6 months or so.
Yeah. But it's forever in a small town
Yeah,
to a young woman.
In the 70s. And she's only 18.
That's the point.
We also learn. I thought she was older.
She's just a baby.
Only a wee baby. Anyway,
just a baby.
she's back and she's getting picked up, and she meets up with Lancelot Jones and his dad, and they have a history that she can't talk about. That history that she can't talk about turns out to be real by the book YA nonsense, not a deep mystery that I thought it was going to be. The thing,
Not at all.
the thing that happened between them is so trivial that it's hilarious. But anyway,
Silly.
she's off in the woods. She's chasing after a fella who's got a magic knife. Go on.
A fun little fact for you here,
Oh,
Michael.
I'd love to hear it.
I did a bit of digging through the issues while we were going. Right?
Yeah, go on.
So, the summer before
Yeah.
Jane goes off to college,
Who the fuck is
she's
Jane?
dating that tosser.
Who's Jane?
Or, sorry, not Jane. Who's Jane?
Who's Jane?
I saw it. I'll explain. I know what that is. Anyway, the summer before she goes off to college for the academic year, she's dating that fella, and she goes to the Kings Hill High prom.
Yeah.
and that is the Class of 73.
Oh, very good.
This is set in the mid-70s.
Very good.
And
yes.
the reason I said Jane is because
Yes.
on the next panel, Michael,
Yes.
it shows one of the dates she goes on, and the movie being shown is Live or Let Die with Roger Moore and Jane Seymour, and that came out in the summer of 1973.
Fucking great stuff, Benjamin. You should have been Lancelot Jones, the world's smartest boy.
Or just read the comic.
Or just read the comic, yeah.
Anyway, book one. You think it's trivial.
and-
Tell me more.
Anyway, no, the whole thing between them, where there was a will they, won't they, love romance, even though she's bigger and older than him, and he clearly is not a romantically inclined person, and then she throws the head
he's an
in.
autist.
Yeah. Well, is he?
He's an autist.
Is he, Ben? Is he, as it
Wow.
turns out. Anyway,
Is he?
she throws
Is
the
he?
head in. It doesn't go well. She legs it off to college. Fucking grand. Mystery solved.
That's it.
Fucking get on with
That's
it.
it.
Mystery solved, get on with it.
And then he's a bit awkward.
Yeah.
Because she gives him the cold shoulder while he's at university. And she comes back and she's like, Lancelot's being weird with me. He's like, yeah, you gave him the cold shoulder for a year,
off.
so he doesn't know what the fuck is up.
Fucked off
He
to...
doesn't fucking know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's fairly trivial as it turns out. And off she goes into the forest after Weasel Jones, or whatever the hell his name is. Watson?
Weasel Waddington.
Waddington, okay.
Waddington.
Off she goes in to get him, and he has a classic Twin Peaks-esque, X-Files-esque mental breakdown because he gets his hand on a magic dagger.
It's pure X-Files.
Pure
X-Files.
X-Files. Pure chasing a madman through the woods with torches in the 70s.
Fabulous stuff.
Great stuff altogether.
Fabulous.
Benjamin, did you particularly enjoy that they were chasing him through Kingswood, which is where we live?
We lived there, Michael.
That's what-
Whoops.
that's
Shouldn't
what-
have said that on
Uh-oh.
the internet.
Oh no, that's all right. I consider myself a public figure. It's like people can find me. It's grand.
We live in Kingswood in the United States where this story is set.
Very much so. No, Ben, that assassin guy's not going to come after us. We've never denied anyone's health insurance. So
No, we haven't.
no, we haven't, or have we? No, I don't think we
Very
have.
topical joke.
Thank you.
No. I gave up being an insurance broker before my first denial.
Very good. Anyway, brokers don't do the denials, but that's neither here nor there. What are we talking about?
Yeah, it's probably why I didn't last in insurance.
Yeah. What are we talking about? I've lost track. What were we saying? Chasing the weasel. They're chasing weasels through the forest. The forest
Yeah.
of Kingswood.
Yeah.
And they catch him, and she knocks him out with a branch or whatever. And there's a nice little bit of foreshadowing.
Stone.
The stone, yeah. Oh, her special move, a stone wrapped in snow. So it hurts more,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So
Pretty solid
nice
stuff.
bit of foreshadowing where they spot a shadowy figure in the woods.
Yes, good
A
stuff.
shadowy figure of, like, I thought it was a girl, maybe, for example.
Yes. Oh, what could that be? If only. Well, we'll have to wait 4 years to find out.
Take that, Ed Brubaker. Oh, Ben.
Take that out, Brubaker, and not being a scab. Go on.
Yeah. Should have scabbed, shouldn't you? Could have got this out earlier. Then we go on towards
Don't
the...
scab, ladies
No,
and gentlemen.
don't scab. We go on towards the end of all... We stand with the unions, apparently. We're very much a labour
Oh, we are.
related podcast.
Oh, no, we are.
Um,
Yeah. Go for it, lads.
go on the unions, as they say. So anyway,
Hup the unions.
issue 3 of this ends where Ed Brubaker says that he initially envisaged episode 1 ending
Yes.
with a big explosion in the clubhouse, in the
Mahusif.
massive explosion in the clubhouse, and the death of Lancelot Jones. This whole scene gives incredible vibes of and again, this is going back to kind of, this is YA because it's grown up child characters, but this gave me real vibes of your favourite show and mine, Gravity Falls.
Oh, this is very Gravity Falls, Michael.
This whole
Very Gravity Falls throughout.
this whole scene is very Gravity Falls grown up.
The Mystery Shack got blown to bits.
Exactly. It is a
And
mystery
Dipper
shack.
was
That's
in
what
there.
it is. It's the mystery shack out in
and
the
Mabel
woods.
found. Yeah. No, it's very good. Like I have to say, tonally, Michael, I really enjoyed this because it drip feeds us in the slowest possible sense that there's something very sinister going on in the town of King's Head. And
King's Hill.
I liked that slow build.
Pretty sure it's called King.
It's King's Hill, is it?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought
After
King's Head is from Bob's Burgers.
after-
King's Head Island is from
After
Bob's
Stephen
Burgers.
King and Joe Hill.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Isn't that nice?
I hope that's true.
It is.
And not.
It is.
Oh, good.
I've
That's
done
even
my
better.
research on this one, Ben.
Oh, excellent. I love it. But one of the things that I think sells book one to me so well is that jarring, sudden reality comes crashing in on top of Friday's world. Like, up until that, it's all still a bit childish and silly. You know, she's running around and she really thinks she's got an axe to grind with Lancelot Jones, and, you know, oh, he's a silly boy and he's wrapped up in his investigations again. Of course he went to the clubhouse and didn't come home. And then all of a sudden, the clubhouse gets nuked,
Yeah.
and she's left with her friend's charred body.
Charred body.
Ugh.
And she gets a wallop. Or is that in the next issue?
And she gets a good old-fashioned wallop. No, she gets a wallop.
She gets the wallop in issue 3.
She gets
okay.
a wallop. So she, even right up until the end, Michael, like, she arrives to the clubhouse by sledding.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Great
Like,
stuff.
it's childish beyond belief. Do you know what I mean? And it's all this kind of childhood fiction tropes where it's like the kids know these woods like the back of their hands. They've got all kinds of nooks and crannies they get in and out of. Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden that just gets derailed massively because there's a nuclear explosion. Lance is trapped in the clubhouse and she comes across his destroyed body. She flips him over and he's two-faced.
Oh, he's got all two-faced around you. He's all crispy and burnt on one side. It's horrible.
He's been Aaron Eckharted to bits. And it's grim, and it's a great jarring moment because up until that, it is all very adventure-y and kind of by the seat of their pants. Even the little hints of horror that we've gotten, the white lady with the phenomenal splash panel of the big white worm that goes through the middle of the wood.
Great stuff.
Like, phenomenal stuff from Marcos Martin and Monsivicente. Like, just beautiful stuff. Even that was rip-roaring adventure and yeehaw. And we know that they've dealt with the supernatural before because we get that great, I think it's a 2 splash page. That's not 2 pages because I know that's a splash page. It's 2 separate splash pages going through their adventures in kind of a chronological book style.
Yeah.
Are
we to believe?
Which was probably one of my...
Are we to believe that their adventures have been put into book form in this world?
I don't know. I don't know if that's true. But I loved it. I thought this was a great little, like... I think it's a great love letter to the entire genre of kid detectives.
Yeah.
I think some of them are great. Like, I really enjoyed... And some of them are horrific when you think about them in a like, The Secret Beneath Arcadian Hall seems to have some kind of eldritch horror sitting up at the back of the hall.
Yeah.
Like a big alien xenomorph kind of thing.
Horrible stuff.
Up the back. The Legend of Lime Cave is incredibly tame by comparison to there's an eldritch being beneath the hall. Do.
Yeah, I like the fact that their adventures seem to be, sometimes it's ghosts, sometimes it's people with a funny mask on pretending to be a ghost, sometimes it's ghosts.
Yeah, sometimes it's Scooby-Doo, sometimes it's Lovecraft.
Yeah.
It's, you know, which one are you going to get? And that was kind of fun for me. I thought that was played it really well. But that last issue, Michael, those last few pages, is such a slam into, like, I would say that branch that she gets whacked with is almost the turning point for the narrative in this, where when she wakes up, instead of going down the rabbit hole, she's almost been ejected out of it into horrible reality of, oh, my best pal's dead.
Oh, he's
This is
dead.
shit.
And now I'm just going to go and be a big depressed.
Now I'm going to go and be a big depressed, which I suppose brings us, Michael, to book 2. Anyway, sorry, favorite parts of book 1 before we do that, Michael. What did you like about it?
I like the slow burn of this. I mean, we're complaining that it's a bit trite in a sense, but I like both the characters. I like the world. I like the kind of building mystery. It does have vibes of Gravity Falls for the 6 or 7 years older crowd. Or maybe 3 or 4 years older crowd. It's Gravity Falls without the comedy. It's the influences that it wears on its sleeve. It's Harriet the Spies. It's Stephen King's gangs of kids getting up to things. It's kids on bicycles doing adventures. I like that genre. And I like this. And I like the writing. And I like the art style. And I like the characters. So I like the first 3 issues. And the twist of it at the third one is like, oh, something's going to start happening now.
Yeah. And then we kind of jump into it. And that was pretty interesting for me, Michael, because it like the bit I like about it is the hints of the supernatural. And I also like that we don't know, as you said, are we to believe that their adventures have been documented? And I don't think so. I think the only people that document them are
Them.
Lancelot Jones and Friday Fitzhugh. But to them, it's important. But I liked all that. And then I think the little bit of lore building with the White Lady and that kind of thing, good folkloric little touches here and there. Thought it was very good, very enjoyable, very good. And
Yes.
that continues at least a little bit of the way in book 2.
What happens in book 2, Benjamin? Give me a summary, because I've forgotten the distinction between the 3.
Book 2, Michael, is called On a Cold Winter's Night. And if you were to boil it down to its essence,
Yes.
it is how does a young girl cope with the death of her best pal?
Yeah. Poorly.
How would a former teenage detective
Benjamin.
deal with the death of her best pal? She'd go investigating.
Go investigating. I'm saying poorly as in she doesn't handle it well, not she handles it inappropriately. I think she handles it...
Yes, because you're not a sexist.
Yeah, she handles it appropriately. It's the normal way
Yes.
to grieve. But
Yes.
in terms of solving a supernatural mystery, quite poorly.
Quite poorly, Michael. And then, Michael, she decides to take it all the way to the top of the town. She's spanked on the wrist suitably by reality, told, you're a child, you can't investigate this, get over it.
Yeah.
She doesn't take that very well, of course, because she's Friday Fitzhugh.
Yeah, she's not
Michael.
going to take that, Benjamin, no matter how incompetent the sheriff is.
Oh, God. We can get to that, and a very excellent observation by one of our many, many Discord fans, Michael, in a moment.
Yeah, go on.
But then, Michael, halfway through it, we get the absolute springboard insanity that is the sheriff from out of town.
Oh, not the sheriff, the investigator, I don't know who she is again. Is she from the FBI?
She's a special investigator, isn't she? That's what it's
From
claimed
a special
to be.
investigator from out of town.
From out of town. That's what she's told. And I'm Detective Cross from the Knightsbridge County office. She's Detective Cross from the Knightsbridge County office.
Why is she
Michael.
so cross?
And why was she so cross, Michael? Why? But that's what happens in this, Michael. And this, Michael, is probably my favourite of the books because it continues that very grounded narrative that we built up in book 1, but then it gives me some fucking batshit art, some phenomenal colour work from Munza Vicente, and some of my favourite, oh, what the fuck moments of a comic in a while.
Very
enjoyable.
good
Very
WTF
enjoyable.
moment. So the sheriff in the town, Benjamin, he's an incompetent, and he has basically cruised by
Fucking tool.
by letting 2 teenagers solve all the crimes.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
He seems nice enough, though. He seems like a harmless fella. It's
But I don't know if that's what you want from your sheriff.
No,
Is
exactly. But he's at least not on her side. He at least doesn't turn out to be a baddie.
Yeah, he's not a baddie. No, he's not. It could have been that.
Yeah.
They could have made him the Eldritch Abomination. But it's actually much better, Michael, that they don't do that. He is every sheriff who thanks their stars that there's 2 plucky teenagers that do all the detective work for them.
Exactly. So anyway, she breaks into this is where it all starts to go mad. She breaks into the headquarters of the local cult. And she finds out that, in fact, all of the goings on are because there's a cult. And this cult appears to be preparing to sacrifice the town.
Yep, that's the gig.
Uh-oh. Not great.
Oh, and it's all the people that ever wronged those kids when they were kids. That's the best part.
Every single one of them, including the woman from out of town. You could almost say, has she had a psychotic break and now thinks everyone who's ever wronged her is in some sort of cult that are out to get her.
Yeah, exactly. And it's if we were rational adults in the real world, Michael, we'd go, the poor girl's had a bit of a mental break given the tremendous amount of grief that she's just gone through.
But then, but then, Ben, it turns out
But
they
then-
actually are in a cult because one of them turns into the Thing.
Oh, Michael, the abomination work. Phenomenal stuff. Phenomenal stuff. There's a couple of great moments before that, but it really is a what the fuck moment, Michael. Like, she comes in the front door. She grabs an axe before she goes in. Very smart thinking.
Good thinking.
From Friday Fitzhugh. Thank God she grabbed that axe. But she goes in, no more snowballs with stones in them for her.
No.
This time,
Axe
I'm
time.
taking the fucking axe.
Axe time, yeah.
And she goes in, Michael, and there's just a big fucking Lovecraftian moment happening.
It's half
Look at that.
it's half Lovecraftian, half John Carpenter's The Thing. It's very grim and gross body horror.
Oh, it's grim and gross. Grim and gross. Yeah,
Now-
brutal stuff.
Benjamin, it's implied that that cop is going to go and have her two mothers be killed quietly, so it looked like an accident, or it looked like they'd maybe done a suicide or something like that. But no,
Yeah.
it turns out that was just a front. She's actually going to go to their house, and then, without any real fanfare, turn into a horrible yolk and eat them.
Yeah, that's what she was doing. She was going to have a little nibble on them.
Horrible stuff altogether.
She was going to eat them. And this is done beautifully in a number of different ways because it's insane. We haven't had any hint that it's full Lovecraft up until that. We've had some hints that there's fairies involved. We've had some hints that there's folklore involved, but we haven't had that. And the other thing that accomplishes this beautifully, Michael, is the entire sequence before that is illustrated in kind of a purple-blue sequence by Munza Vicente. She sticks with a very cold violet-blue color palette, and then as soon as we get inside the house and there's eldritch abominations, there's an explosion of orange, yellow, and green for the abomination. The abomination is constantly lit in green. And Michael, it's some of the best color prep that I've seen done for a reader, where we are instantly jarred out of one thing and brought into another. It is literally like stepping through the looking glass and going, oh fuck, this is spooky, ugly, bubbly
Oh,
stuff
everything's
now.
different colors.
Oh.
These colors didn't exist before, and now they're here. It must be all this horror. Ben, my favorite thing about this scene is obviously she hits it with an axe and she wins because she's Friday McHugh and she's a tough cookie.
Yeah, she wins,
But
and she curses.
And she does a big curse, but it also does a thing that you see very rarely in this type of
Rarely, is
yeah, exactly, in this genre, and that is when she kills the ugly bugly and sets it on fire and kicks it out the window onto the front porch of the house. She gets in trouble.
Oh yeah,
She gets
yeah,
caught.
Yeah.
She gets arrested,
She gets caught.
and everyone's
brutal
like,
stuff.
"No, you
There are consequences to her actions.
killed that woman because look, there's an axe in her head and she's on fire and she's in your lawn and those people saw you doing it." It's like, oh, yeah, this wouldn't happen to the gang from It.
Someone would cover it up conveniently, or everyone would forget because that's what it does.
So off she goes to prison, Ben. Or jail, I suppose, more appropriately. Off she goes to jail with the kindly sheriff who's like, well, look, I didn't like her as much as you didn't, but also you can't be going around killing people, I suppose.
We can't murder everyone we don't like, Friday. Come on.
Yeah, and then
Come on, Friday.
she's in jail, and she's not going to be able to stop the cult from performing their ritual and sacrificing the town or whatever it is they're up to. And I'm thinking to myself,
There's nothing she can do.
how is she going to get out of this situation? Oh, it's bullshit. It's Harry Potter bullshit. She's getting out of the situation
Harry Potter
with
bullshit.
Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban bullshit. And I went, oh no, we've changed genre again. And we've changed genre into one of my least favourite genres, the travel back in time and go through the same events from a different perspective. And it was me in the woods, and I'm the one who saved Sharpbeak. And it was Draco Malfoy who threw that stone. And I went,
Sharp beak.
oh, I hate it.
I
Go on.
hated this. I was so desperately disappointed that time travel was the twist.
Yeah.
Because I could have. More is to the point, Michael, and I'm going to jump ahead here to book 3 and give a major spoiler. More is to the point because I find out completely unnecessary.
Go on.
Completely unnecessary. Like, it's not necessary to the plot because Lancelot Jones isn't fucking dead.
He's not dead? I knew he wasn't dead, Ben. I knew he wasn't dead.
I know, but phenomenally upsetting to me, Michael. So let me give you the plot device that the thing is used. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, again, just to stress, if you haven't read this yet, pause, go and read it now, join the Discord,
no.
give us your thoughts,
We fucked it
then
now.
come back. Come back to it right now.
We fucked it
Right.
now, Ben. It's too late.
The time travel twist
The time turner, yeah.
is completely unnecessary. It is argued that she needs to go back in time because it gets her out of the cell. That is arguably what it's done for. She thinks she can save Lancelot Jones' life. First of all, doesn't need to be saved.
No, he's
fucking
not
fine.
dead. He's fine.
Number 2.
Yeah.
She thinks that she needs to go back in time and get people on her side and pull a team together. It turns out that Father, what's his name?
I don't know,
Father
but he's
Sharp?
great.
Is it Father Sharp?
He's great, and his dog is great.
They're both great, but they were already in on this. They knew something was up because they're the guardian archetype or something.
Yeah.
That's fine.
They're the Watcher. They're your classic The Watcher.
Yeah.
They're your classic, what was the guy's name, Benjamin, from The Mummy?
Bloody,
That fella.
yeah, big sexy,
The sexy,
by
the
awakening
sexy
fella.
fella
What's
with
his
the
name?
tattoos. You know who I mean. Odo Fair.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, absolutely fine. Completely on board with Watcher archetype. Very good boy in the dog. Good stuff. Very nice. Doesn't need to have time travel involved to get him on board. He's already on board. He's pretty much in on this shit. He knows what's going on. Number 3.
Yes, go on.
The only thing this does is involve Friday in the plot and make it so she has to tell Lancelot about the time travel shenanigans so he actually sets them up. Completely unnecessary. You wouldn't have to do that if you just didn't bother with time travel in the first place.
No, he doesn't set them up, though.
Fucking...
He tells her, I don't have access to that. I don't know how to do a time travel. So
Yeah, but then he goes into the lighthouse and looks behind the mermaid and he finds spells and shit and he's like, oh, I do know how to do all this now.
it was my mum. It was a real supernatural.
It was my mum.
My mum was a big
Turns
supernatural
out my
man.
mum was also... Yeah, my mum was also a kid detective and did loads of stuff before me. And she wasn't dead either. She was in a mental asylum because she
Benjamin,
was mental.
How did this fuck,
Yeah.
the smartest boy in the world, who's solving mysteries and crimes left, right and centre, how did he walk over a secret compartment in his own house every day of his life and never go, oh, that floorboard sounds different?
To all the other floorboards in this entire building.
Yeah.
Now,
The bloody
look,
dumbest boy in the world, more like, haha, bloody got him.
this upset me no end, Michael. I liked this comic. Let me just say, I'm not against Friday as a concept. I fucking hate this shoehorn thing, and I don't think it's necessary. The other thing
Yes?
that I didn't think was necessary was that there are 2 fucking Lancelot Jones.
Okay, look, so
And that
here's the thing. I'm going to
Yeah.
cut across you. Because this is where the mythology of this is revealed fully, essentially. And
Yeah.
I was shocked and stunned to be, after the first 3 issues being a kind of slightly supernatural tinged murder mystery, and then the middle section being a murder mystery with Lovecraftian body horror overtones, with cultists and shape-shifting and trying to bring about the doom of the world. Then to throw in the exact time travel mechanic from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. The exact same. Even with a watch. Like, it's the exact same mechanic.
Yeah.
And then...
It's a time turner.
Yeah, it's the time turner. And then, immediately after that, more or less, reveal that the whole thing hasn't been Lovecraftian creatures or outer elder gods or anything like that. It's fucking fairies. It's Irish fairy mythology. Or maybe not Irish,
Yeah,
but Celtic.
changelings.
Celtic fairy mythology.
No, changelings are Irish.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, Scots have them as well, don't they?
I know, but swapping babies is a big Irish thing.
Oh, we're always at it.
We're always at it, swapping them babies.
Swapping the babies. It's like panini stickers in the 90s. Like, oh, this one's a bit ugly.
We just couldn't get enough of
Do you
them.
want to swap? Yeah, but
Yeah,
it just
anyway.
goes balls to the wall in the reveal of what's going on, and it turns out to be forest spirits. Like so many Irish things we've watched and read recently, like the Irish film set in Bray and thereabouts.
Yeah.
Like
Bray.
Bray or thereabouts. What was that other one we watched, Benjamin, with the English couple who moved to Ireland and
The Hallow.
The Hallow, yeah. All of this stuff, suddenly that's this story. It's not Stephen King-esque ancient creatures that inhabit a New England town. It's actually Irish mythology the whole time.
Yeah.
And
the whole
Harry Potter.
bloody time. And Harry Potter. Yeah, look, I think there's a few bits of this that I liked and there's a few bits of this that I didn't like. So some of the groundwork is laid for this to be successful.
Go on.
Right?
Go on.
There are some great splash panels in book one where Lancelot, the useless sheriff, and Friday are going through the woods, and Lancelot is explaining that, you know, dark and sinister things happen in this town all the time.
Yeah.
Especially in this wood. It's ancient and unknowable. And they do a little hint of it there. And then, of course, Friday meets the White Lady at one point, and she says, "Am I talking to myself here?" And the White Lady says, "No, child, you of all people should know. No one talks to themselves in these woods." And then, boom, she has her weird psychedelic trip. And a little bit of that is hinted at, and that's fine. Right?
Go on.
But
Yes.
it negates Eldritch Detective Nightcross, whatever her name is. Crossbridge. What's her name? Nightbridge. Detective Nightbridge. Why is she an Eldritch abomination all of a sudden? What's that about?
No, so
where does that come from?
The fey creatures here, the changelings in this universe, are eldritch abominations. That's what it turns out to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the mechanic by which they seem to be forest spirits. So their natural form seems to be like a deformed wooden deer, or a too big owl, or a manky crow. But
A manky crow.
they seem to be able to then take on human form as well, and just I don't know, go gross. But does the dog have magic powers? I think it does.
It's strongly hinted that the dog does have magic powers because he's a little eldritch thing as well.
Yeah. Does he get bigger?
But he's a good boy, Michael.
He's a very good boy.
Huh? He gets bigger. I think he gets a bit buffer. My favourite thing about this, Michael, is that an eldritch being gets taken out by a fucking sedan at one point. He's just like...
Yeah, but they're not
He just
eldritch
gets
beings,
flat.
Ben. They're just fairies. So
They're just fairies.
anyway, it comes to a head with one of the best team-ups I've ever seen. I love the forming the
Go on.
team scene in this. It's great.
Yeah.
So, anyway, what's his name again? Lancelot Jones comes back and goes, actually, it was the bad me that was killed. And I'm not entirely sure how that worked. So the Lancelot Jones that we've been with the whole time, he's the one who was replaced. No, sorry, he's the replacement.
Yes.
So the evil Lancelot Jones was the original human boy.
Yes, from the film Us by Jordan Peele.
By Jordan Peele, yeah, he was one of the tethered. But his mother managed to break the link with the fairy version of him. Now, Ben, here's my question. Was he the smartest boy in the world because he's some sort of fey being? Or is that a coincidence?
Yes. My answer to that is
yes. Because I've
to
given you
both.
an or
No,
question.
it's because he's... Remember, Michael, I really think we have to take all those things with a pinch of salt. I think he's certainly the smartest boy in King's Hill.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's by any stretch of the imagination the smartest boy in the world. I think it plays on the idea of Encyclopedia Brown and that kind of thing. But realistically, these kids are building their own mythos. Do you know what I mean? That's what they're doing.
Delicious.
And I think that's quite important as well. But what I will say is, so we're dealing with the changeling. We have that I'm not human Friday. I'm one of them, the forest people, the fae, and I think I always have been.
Look at my pointy ears.
As it turns out, He's got pointy ears and little green eyes,
Yeah.
and as we know in this comic, when something is slightly tinged green, it's fayish. That's how it works. Yeah, and then there's all the time traveling shenanigans. And then we find out. Then it becomes a kind of a sins of post-colonialism. Sins of colonialism narrative.
Yeah.
Because we find out, and this is even more Gravity Fallsy from what you said earlier, we find out that there was a king of the Fae, and he was just shot by a hunter.
Yeah.
So that realistically, Michael, the Fae are, as we saw with the Eldritch Sheriff who gets hurt by bleach and axes and stuff, and as we saw by the big ugly buggly owl Cronenberg thing being hit by a sedan, they can be hurt by physical means. It's no bother. But apparently, the king of the forest was shot by a musket, and that was it for him.
Just beat them
He
up.
didn't get to bounce back.
Just get adults and beat them up.
Yeah, so we find out a little bit about this, and then in a sequence of panels there, Michael, we find out that, a bit more about the valley. There was a giant eldritch giants that used to roam around the valleys of the place.
Oh, that's
and
a cool
stuff like
panel.
that. But it's only ever hinted at. It's a great panel. The big ugly buggly guy.
Yeah, look at him.
Look at him there.
Look at him.
Look at
Look
him.
at his slice of him.
Look at him. Yeah. But yeah, so we got a few of those, and it turns out that Lancelot's mum did loads of that stuff. But then she decided to sever the connection between the White Lady, the Queen of the Fae, and her changeling son, and he becomes essentially a character unbound by monarchy at that point.
Yeah.
He suddenly becomes a Republican.
Yeah.
And that's how that happened. And it's gas.
So yeah,
Gas.
so they do a big team up. They gather the squad. I love gathering the squad scenes. They're some of my favorite scenes.
You do.
And they gather Friday, who's a tough girl. They gather Lancelot Jones, who apparently knows magic as well now. They gather the priest and the magic dog, who are your
Look,
classic.
there he is, look.
Who's that? The priest and the magic dog.
Look at that.
Yeah,
That's the priest and the magic dog.
yeah. And then
They
they
meet him at the clock tower.
and then they gather the sheriff, and they never explain how the sheriff hasn't been frozen with all the rest of the town.
Nah, not explained. Not even a little bit.
Doesn't matter though, because he's a good egg.
He's a good egg. He's all right.
He's going to show up for them when they need it most. So they have a big showdown, and she gets to hit the puck again, and that's great. And she knocks the thing out of your woman's hands and stuff. And they do beat them in a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina way. You didn't like
was
this,
very
no?
anticlimactic.
Go on.
This was very anticlimactic. This was okay.
All right.
So let me break this down.
All right, break it down for me, Ben. Do you need a beat?
This once again feeds this. No. I'm all right.
Okay.
I probably won't rap, Michael,
Okay,
for the
go on.
sake of the listeners and yourself. I probably won't rap, but this is the deconstruction of childhood, especially the myths we build for ourselves as children. So, like we've spoken about earlier on with Lancelot Jones and this idea of him being the smartest boy in the world, he's not. He's a precocious child. Who happens to be fairly quick off the mark when it comes to figuring shit out.
Sounds like
Good
a hint
for
of
him.
jealousy there, Ben, to be honest.
Shut up, right? I could do it too. I'm just not in a small town in America, right? But anyway, the other thing that happens here is, of course, we are building to the climax, the denouement, the battle of good versus evil. But what it actually is it's a wounded lover. It's, the white face is just like, you fucking murdered my husband. You never even said sorry. Like, fuck you.
It was all a big misunderstanding, we swear.
And as with so many things we expect when we're children, we think there's going to be a big moment. It's set up that way as well, because Friday Fitzhugh has to use her hockey stick to smack a puck to get the arcane knife out of the white lady's hand, and that should change everything. But it doesn't actually. What it does is they then have a conversation, and they're like, maybe colonial settlers might have been in the wrong there.
Yeah,
sorry
here,
about that.
Take this skull back and fuck off. And they go, yeah, Grant, we
Well,
will.
What I do love, though, is that Lancelot Jones takes an opportunity to give one big fuck you to the man who's thwarted him all through his childhood, the rich fella, Mr. Waddingham, and he goes, no, I've got power, and he points the knife at him and he lights him on fire.
It was a big murder. Now, he was a fake creature, I suppose, so that's fair game.
Yeah, Mr. Wadsworth, Michael. Mr. Wadsworth just gets burnt to a crisp.
Yeah. Just gets sucked.
Ah.
Anyway, but I actually... Okay, it's a little bit anticlimactic, and off they go then, together to college, on a train, in a very Harry Potter denouement as well. I mean,
Yep.
the Harry Potter influences seep through. But look, we're nearly out of time. We've been kind of ragging on part 3 of this, but overall, I did really enjoy this.
It's very enjoyable,
Yeah.
Michael. It's beautifully illustrated. It's very... the characterization, the dialogue, the town of King's Hill is wonderfully written. I've no complaints. I was invested. I cared what happened to Friday. I kind of cared what happened to Lancelot Jones.
Yeah.
I was invested in the arc of Friday Fitzhugh. I wanted to see her succeed. I wanted to see her get some vindication. I wanted to see it fucking work out for her.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really care about many of the other characters. But it's well written. I just didn't enjoy... Look, I think my gripes with this could be boiled down to the fact that it took them 4 years to write and they had to stop and start. Very hard to remain cohesive when you're stopping and starting. Like that, Michael.
But I was thinking about that, and I actually don't think that is the issue here, because of the presence of the time turner. What issue is the time turner in? 7? 8? 7?
It's in the second book.
Is it
she
in
finds
6?
she finds it's at the end of 6.
Yeah.
It's at the end of 6.
Oh, so time travel is
yeah.
this big twist at the end of part 2. But that means that they knew.
It's the main mechanic for part 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means that they knew from day one, because there are plenty of hints included in volume 1 that this is going on.
Yes.
So just like The Prisoner of Azkaban, if you go back and read this a second time, you go, oh, the girl in the woods was her. Oh, she's the
That
one who
was
caused
her
the
all
car crash.
along.
You know, there's lots of things like that where you go, oh,
Yeah.
they never explain why he crashed the car. Oh, it was her. They never explain who the girl in the woods was. I like that it turns out to be her that knocks herself unconscious and goes, oh, damn. Going
Yeah, I have to do this. Yeah.
back to what you said earlier, that's like the turning point for her life. And funnily enough, it turns out she's a twist on the time turner story. But it felt to me, therefore, in the sense the entire thing felt written before the first one was made. No,
Yeah.
no, it's coherent.
No, that's fair.
It's coherent and logical.
Yeah.
I don't. Oh no, not. I didn't. I wasn't upset by it. Not like Lost. They're just setting up mysteries
Yeah.
and they don't know the answers was, and I appreciated that.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. And
Yeah.
I thought this was a good comic.
Yeah.
The
I
list,
thought this was a good comic also. Do you know who else thought this was a good comic, Michael? The listeners. Our pal Guy on the Discord gave us a pretty solid review of this comic. He was also, like us, a little shocked. He said, going into this comic, I thought it was going to be 3 separate stories, with it being released over the sum of 3 years. So I was quite surprised to see it as one
Yeah, me too.
continuous story throughout.
Especially me.
Us too, Guy. Us too. Very taken aback. He says, I quite enjoyed this comic. The characters are all quite likable, and as for the sheriff, his safeguarding skills could be better. And how, Guy? And how? The story...
be best impressed.
Oh, Jesus. You wouldn't want tussle involved in general,
true.
Michael, but that's more of a political statement on our country than anything else. The story develops the characters really well, being able to show the inner thoughts and emotions through dialogue, art, and colour. Absolutely agree with that guy. They do a great job of kind of giving Friday a whole arc visually. It's very, very good.
Friday. More like.
Friday. He said, I'm very glad Mr. Wadsworth died. Good. Yeah. Weren't we all?
Fuck that guy.
And then fuck that guy. I was pleasantly surprised when the big reveal was that it was a changeling story all along. Unlike myself. Unlike myself,
was
guy.
happy with
But
the
that's
changeling
okay.
thing. I didn't like the time.
Yeah. Then get that time turner out of there, gang. Get it out of there. But anyway, look, Guy, thanks a million for your thoughts. Thank you for the extensive review. You can read Guy's review of this comic and some other comics, because Guy is very good at giving us reviews on our Discord. If you just hop up on the link down below.
Ben, who's going to play Friday in the adaptation? Will Sadie Sink or Sophia Lillis? The 4-year-old Florence Pug. Fucking great stuff. All right.
I'm sold. I'd watch it. No, Sadie Sink would be a top class pick there, Michael. Who else is good and young?
Sophia Lillis is the actress who played the spunky redheaded girl.
Oh, Michael, that's a great call.
Yeah.
Why not do
you would
that?
also remember her, Ben, from
We'll just do
Dungeons
that.
and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, where she could turn.
Oh, that was one of the best chase sequences in the biz,
Great stuff.
Michael. Great stuff. Right,
Ben.
come here to me. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to give us your thoughts in all sincerity, I'm wrapping it up, you fuck. Jesus.
Do something when I'm
If for
already
some
in the
reason-
middle of clearly doing it. And it's fucking infuriating. Wrap it up there, would you?
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Mick has just referred to himself, or inferred to himself, as my wife. But come here to me.
Yes. Go on.
Come here to me, ladies and gentlemen. If you've stuck with us this long, you probably enjoyed this episode. Thanks very much. Go give us a review on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen.
Every
Go on.
little
Go off and do that
helps.
now. We'd appreciate that. Or give us a follow on the old YouTube channel where you may have found us. Come on out of that. If you want to get in touch with us, if you want to tell us what you thought of this comic, or more importantly, what should our January read be? Because we're taking a break now for the Crimbo period.
Crimbo
ladies and
period.
gentlemen.
Oh, this was the
But what
Crimbus
should we
episode, by the way.
read? Crimbus, because there's a lot of snow in Kings Hill, and it's set around Christmas, in fairness. Not that it has any bearing on the plot. But anyway, come here to me.
What?
Ladies and gentlemen, tell us what we should be reading in January. What were your top comics of the gosh darn year, ladies
were
and
they?
gentlemen? That's what I want to know. What have you been reading all year? You could hop up on our Discord. It's linked below in the description. And share that. I'm going to be putting that thread on later on this very day that you'll be listening. It's a Monday, hopefully.
Oh,
Brave. I'll be putting that thread up there. Best comics of the year. What did you read? What did you enjoy? Get involved,
Get
ladies
involved.
and gentlemen. Hop up on there.
Yeah.
And tell us. But yeah, that's pretty much it from us this week, Michael, isn't it? We're done now,
Yeah.
kind of, yeah?
yeah, see ya. This year.
Yeah. Right. I enjoyed this so much, Michael. I'm going to get my wristwatch out here. And what I've never told you, Michael, is this is a Faye wristwatch that can do a bit of timey-wimey stuff. And I'm going to record this all over again with you because I enjoyed it so much. Right, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Collecting Issues, where this month we'll be taking a look at Friday, books 1, 2, and... I'm only joking, ladies and gentlemen. I'm
fucking
just being
messer.
a dick.
I didn't know what was happening. I thought the Fae had taken over our lives.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. See you next month.